Welcome you all to the course Database Management System. Myself, Mohammad Asifuddin Mondal, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Narula Institute of Technology. And this is lecture number 34 of this particular course. Now, I will going to cover chapter number 8, which is concurrency control in transaction management system. And these are the topics which I am going to cover during my lecture. Actually, I will discuss about different kinds of protocol, actually, which is this protocol maintained by the concurrency control component, by which concurrency control component ensures the serializability. So I will discuss about log-based protocol, then I will discuss the drawbacks of log-based protocol, and then I will introduce the two-phase locking protocol. So what is log-based protocol? But before going into details, just recapitulate what is serializability. Already I have discussed the concept of serializability in chapter 7 in transaction management system. Now serializability is the property of a transaction. And what is the property? Is that the property of serializability is that if we execute multiple transactions simultaneously or concurrently in a single system, then it will produce the system state if we execute all these transactions serially in some order. So serializability is the concept where if we execute multiple transactions concurrently in a single system, then that will produce a system state which is equivalent to a system state had we execute them serially in some order. Means execution of multiple transactions concurrently, it will produce a system state which is same as or equivalent to a system state if we execute all these transactions serially in some order. So this is the property of serializability. Now in DBMS there is a component is there which is known as concurrency control component. So that concurrency control component has the responsibility to ensure the serializability property. Now the question is how to ensure the serializability property, how concurrency control component maintains the serializability property. So one easiest way is the log-based protocol. So with the help of log-based protocol, concurrency control component maintains the serializability. And in that log-based protocol, the basic thing is that any data item which is going to be accessed by a particular transaction, then data item must be accessed in mutual exclusive manner. That means mutual exclusive manner means if a particular data item accessing a data item, then no other transaction can modify that particular data item. So mutual exclusive means if a transaction accessing a particular data item, then no other transaction can modify that particular data item. So, and one some easiest way to implement that concept is log-based protocol. Now in log-based protocol, a lock is a mechanism to control concurrent access to a data item, and in log-based protocol every transaction require to acquire a lock before accessing them. So in log-based protocol, before transaction perform read or write operation, transaction initially have to acquire lock on that data item. Now lock are two kinds in log-based protocol. Two types of locks are there. One is exclusive mode lock and other one is the shared mode lock. In exclusive mode lock, and this is the exclusive mode lock, that X means it denotes the data item. So exclusive X means it acquired the exclusive mode lock on data item X. Now exclusive mode lock means data item can be both read as well as written. That means if a transaction acquire exclusive mode lock on a particular data item X, then data item X can be read as well as written by transaction. Means transaction can perform both operations, read as well as write. and it is denoted by X lock, denoted by X lock. So is the simple notation. So with that notation, lock X notation, we can represent exclusive mode lock. So X lock is requested, is using lock X instruction. And second shared mode lock, so shared mode lock means data item can only be read. That means if particular transaction acquires shared mode lock, then data item can only be read by transaction. Transaction cannot perform the write operation on shared mode lock. So again I'm repeating, exclusive mode lock means if a transaction acquire exclusive mode lock on a particular data item, then transaction can perform both the operation, can read as well as can write on the same data item. But if transaction acquires shared mode lock on a particular data item, then transaction can only perform read operation on the data item. Transaction cannot write. Actually exclusive mode lock is denoted by X and shared mode lock is denoted by S. And the lock requests are actually made by the transaction, and actually transaction request the lock to the concurrency control manager, and concurrency control manager, if it accept the lock request, then only transaction can proceed its normal operation. Next is, as I've mentioned, that a transaction may be granted a lock on an item if the requested lock is compatible with lock already held on item by other transaction. That means, suppose a transaction makes a lock request on a data item, say data item Q, to the concurrency control manager. Now concurrency control component or concurrency control manager will accept the lock on the data item Q if the data item Q is already locked by other transaction which is in compatible mode. For example, if you look at the lock compatibility matrix, this is the compatibility matrix. This is shared mode lock, X means exclusive mode lock. Now if one transaction, suppose, let me draw it. Suppose this is transaction Ti and this corresponds to transaction Tj. Suppose transaction Ti holds a shared mode lock on data item Q and transaction Tj also try to acquire a lock on same data item Q in a shared mode lock, then it is true. True means lock can be granted. That means shared mode lock is true means true transaction can make request on the data item Q on the shared mode lock and lock request can be granted. But now suppose transaction Ti suppose already holds a lock on data item Q in a X mode. X mode means exclusive mode lock, means Ti can perform read write both operation. And suppose Tj also try to acquire a lock on the data item Q in shared mode lock, then it is false, means concurrency control component cannot accept the lock request of Tj. Or you can say that in other way, suppose Tj is already acquiring a lock on data item Q in a shared mode lock, and suppose Ti wants to acquire a lock on data item Q in exclusive mode or exclusive mode lock, then also it is false, means concurrency control component will not grant the lock request by Ti. So Sx is false. Now X says it is also false. Exclusive mode lock, shared mode lock, it is false. Similarly, exclusive mode lock is false. So from compatible matrix, what we can say that on a particular data item Q, if the lock request, if the two transactions are acquiring the shared mode lock, then both transactions can proceed their normal operation. If any one of the operation is exclusive mode lock, then lock request is not going to be accepted. So that's what this is written. Any number of transaction can hold shared mode lock on a particular data item, but if any transaction holds an exclusive mode lock on the data item, then no other transaction may hold any lock on data item. That means a particular data item can be shared by multiple transactions if the lock are in shared mode. But if any one transaction holds exclusive mode lock on a particular data item, then no other transaction can hold any lock on that data item. Another point I have already made, if a lock cannot be granted, means upon requesting a lock, if the lock cannot be granted by the concurrency control component, then the requesting transaction is made to wait till all incompatible lock held by other transaction have been released. Means once the lock request has been made by the transaction, and if the lock request is not granted by the concurrency control component, then the requesting transaction have to wait for the other transaction so that the other transaction release all incompatible lock. It will be much more clear if we take an example. So let's take an example. So this is the example of schedule the transaction which maintains the log based protocol. This is the transaction T1, this is transaction T2, and here if you look at both the transaction T1 and T2 are based on log based protocol. Why? First, before reading in transaction T1, actually what it does, it transferred the $50 from account B to account A. It transferred $50 from account B to account A. So before reading the B, data item B, transaction T1 have to make a lock request or for B. Now the question is, T1 has two options, either to make a lock request in exclusive mode lock, which is denoted by X, or transaction T1 have to acquire a lock in shared mode. Now exclusive mode lock means, just remember, exclusive mode lock means transaction can perform both the operation read as well as write on a data item, and shared mode means transaction can perform only read operation, cannot write. So here T1 have to make a lock request on data item B. Now on which mode? Now thing is that T1 have to read the value of B, then you have T1 have to modify the data item B. How to modify? You have to deduct the $50. So you have to perform read as well as write both the operations. So that means you have to make a lock request in exclusive mode lock. And how to execute? With the help of lockx command. So lockx B means transaction T1 making a lock request in exclusive mode lock on data item B. Now if concurrency control component, in short I'm writing CC, concurrency control component, if CC accept the lock request, then lock will be accepted, then T1 can execute the read B operation. So read B means it will read the value from hard disk to RAM, then modify the data item by deducting $50, and then also as the T1 holding exclusive mode lock, T1 can perform the write B operation also, means it will write back the value of B from RAM to hard disk. Then once the operation on the data item B has been completed, now T1 needs to unlock the data item B. So with the help of unlock B statement, it means the lock held by transaction T1 on the B is released. That means at that point of time, if some other transaction try to access B, they can. Next, lock XA means now T1 have to read the value of A and have to modify the A. So again you have to acquire a lock on data item A, and definitely it should be in exclusive mode lock. So lock XA means transaction T1 make a lock request on data item A in exclusive mode lock. Now again, if concurrency control component, if it accepted the lock request, grant the lock request, then T1 can proceed. So T1 read the data item, modify the data item, then write it back to the hard disk, and then once all the operations are completed, then T1 execute the unlock A, by which T1 release the lock on A. So after that, if any other transaction try to access the data item A, they can. Similarly, if you look at the transaction T2, they are also maintaining a log based protocol. Now transaction T2, what it actually does, it reads the account A, it reads the account B, and display the total amount it has in account A and B. So T2 have to read A, T2 have to read B, but the question is in which mode T2 have to lock. Now here T2 only needs to read the value of A and B. So here T2 make a lock request in shared mode, S mode, lock X, not in exclusive mode lock, because only you have to read the data item, no need to read and write, only you have to read the data item. That is why it is logged with shared mode lock. Then read the data item. Once the read operation is done, T2 execute unlock A, means release the lock. Then T2 needs to lock data item B in shared mode, only needs to write, so that is why it's shared mode. Read the B. Once the read operation is completed, then release the lock with the help of unlock B, and then it displays. Display means it will display the content of A plus content of B. So here both T1 and T2 both are maintaining the log based protocol. Now the same transaction which we have seen in the last slide, now with the help of these two transactions make a schedule, and let's look how concurrency control manager grants the request and how transaction proceed their operation. So let's make a schedule. So this is say schedule S, let me mark it. So this is schedule, and definitely the schedule consists of two transactions T1 and T2, and they are running concurrently. That means it is a concurrent schedule, and this part is very vital part. This is the concurrency control manager. Already I have mentioned that the concurrency control manager, the concurrency control component, is a part of database management system which ensures serializability. Actually, lock request, whether the lock request will be granted or rejected, that will be decided by the concurrency control manager based on log based protocol. That means concurrency control manager execute algo. Here the algo is log based protocol. Based on log based protocol, concurrency control manager either grant the request or reject the request. So start with here. If you look at the schedule S, you can easily get that the CPU, central processing unit, start with transaction T1. So transaction T1 first make a lock request on data item B in exclusive mode lock. Now once T1 make a lock request on data item B, concurrency control manager have to check whether the same data item B is already been logged by some other data item or not. No data here at that point of time, B is not logged by anyone, so concurrency control manager grant the lock request. So it grants the lock request. So transaction T1 make a lock request, exclusive mode lock request on B, which is granted by concurrency control manager. So T1 can proceed his operation with the B. So read B, then perform the modification, then write B, and then unlock. Unlock means now lock is released. So lock is released on B. So that means now data item B can be accessed by some other transaction. Now transaction T1 is partially, this part is completed. Now CPU switches back to transaction T2, means CPU release the T1 and CPU goes to the transaction T2. Now T2 make a lock request on data item in shared mode. So similarly, concurrency control manager have to check whether A is locked by some other transaction or not. At that point of time, A is not locked by any other transaction, so concurrency concurrency control component or concurrency control manager grant the request, and that is why as the lock request is granted, so T2 will execute his normal operation. It will read A, then unlock A means release the lock. Next again transaction T2 make a lock request on data item B in shared mode lock. Now concurrency control manager will check whether B is locked by any other transaction or not. No, at that point of time B is not locked because B was locked by T1 but it was released. After that T2 make a request lock on B in shared mode. So concurrency control manager grant the lock request, so T2 can proceed. So read the data item, then again unlock B and display the result. Then CPU again release the T2 and switches back to T1. So now here T1 make a lock request on data item A in exclusive mode lock. Again concurrency control manager have to check whether A is locked by any other transaction or not. A was locked in shared mode previously by T2, but already it is unlocked here. It is unlocked here. So at that point of time, no transaction has locked the data item A. So A is free to use. So request is granted. And similarly, A is read by T1. Updation has been done, return has been done, and then release the lock request. So that is how concurrency control manager grant the lock or reject the lock based on lock-based protocol. But if we consider, again consider the same schedule. Again, let me mark it. So already I have discussed how concurrency control component grant the lock request, but the new thing comes up here is that if you consider the schedule S and if you execute the schedule S, then a problem will arise. Even though concurrency control manager granting the lock based on lock-based protocol, that means concurrency control manager has the protocol by which we can ensure the serializability, and concurrency control manager has execute that protocol. But even though if you trace that schedule S, means if you dry run the schedule S, we can see that the database will become inconsistent even though the concurrency control manager execute the log-based protocol. My point is that main objective of log-based protocol is to ensure serializability. But even if log-based protocol is executing here, then also that particular schedule will produce an inconsistent state. Let's check. Suppose consider B. Suppose B is a database. Suppose 100 rupees are there. Suppose A has 200 rupees. Now lock XB already granted. Read B. So this is RAM. So in a local buffer, B will be occupied. B becomes 100. So this is B. So read B. B is equal to B minus 50. So it becomes 50. Then write B means that value is written over here in the hard disk. So it becomes 50. Then unlock means B is unlock. B can be used by anybody. Now T2 CPU execute T2. Now T2 lock request in shared mode lock. A is not locked by anyone, so T2 can access. So here space will be occupied in the RAM A, the value is 200, and say this is for transaction T2. This is the local buffer to T2, and this is the local buffer correspond to T1. Then read A means the value is copied here. Then unlock A means A is unlocked, anybody can use. Lock SB means T2 try to lock on B in shared mode. Now B is not locked by any other transaction because unlock B already done by T1, so B is ready to use, free to use, so T2 lock the B in shared mode. Then read B means the content of B is copied to local buffer, so this is the local buffer of T2, so this is B and the content of B is 50. That's fine, no problem. Unlock B means B is released, B can now free to for anybody's use. Now display plus B. Now display plus B means what is the value of A is the T2 executing display plus B, so that means this is the T2 part. So A plus B is 200 plus 50 is 250. But the question is 250 value, whether it's a consistent or right result or wrong. Actually A plus B was A plus B before transaction executes, A plus B was 300. But if you execute this transaction T1 and T2 with the help of this schedule, then what we are getting, that T2 are showing only 250, rather T2 should display 300. That means the 50 rupees has been deducted or lost. That means the point, very important point here is that even if the concurrency control component is following the log-based protocol, then also by execution of that kind of schedule has suffered the serializability problem. That means even if the concurrency control manager follows the log-based protocol, then also the execution of that kind of schedule does not ensure the database consistency. Database become inconsistent. It does not showing the actual result. Instead of showing 300, it is showing 350. Now the question is why this happens, why we are getting that kind of result, even if log-based protocol maintains the log-based protocol is maintained by the concurrency control component. The point is that why it is happening, because though the data item are logged and unlocked with the help of log-based protocol, but the unlocking has been done immediately upon the ultimate job has been done. Rather, we should unlock the data item, we should delay the unlocking the data item. That means rather than unlocking the data item immediately upon the job has done, what we need to do, we have to unlock the data item at the end of transaction, means we have to delay the unlocking operation. Here what we have done, we have done the lock operation, then once the job has been done, on the data item view, it immediately unlock B. Similarly, if you consider here, lock has been acquired on A, only read operation has been done. Once the job operation done, immediately upon it release the lock. So instead of releasing the lock immediately, we have to delete the lock. We have to delete the unlock. We have to delete the unlock means we have to unlock the data item not immediately, rather than we have to wait for a while. So let's see how unlocking can be delayed in the next slide. So this is the schedule where two transactions are there, T3 and T4, where T3 and T4 both are maintaining the log-based protocol, but it is delayed locking, means let me mark it. Means T3 make a lock request in exclusive mode lock on data item B. It performs the read B operation, then updation has been done, write has been done, means up to that point of time all the operation on B has been completed. But even if the all the operation on B is completed, then also T3 has not done unlocking. Then it perform the lock request on A, it perform read operation, updation operation, then write operation. And after once the all the operation has been completed, then only T3 unlock the B and unlock the A. And the same is applicable for transaction T4 also. T4 also maintaining the log based protocol, but the difference with the previous one here is that T4 unlocks the data item not immediately, rather T4 is delayed the unlocking. T4 lock the data item A in shared mode lock, then it perform read operation. Only read operation is required. Though the operation on the data item A has been completed, T4 has not unlocked yet, rather T4 waited to unlock A. Then T4 lock the data item B in shared mode, perform the read operation, then perform the display operation. Once all the operation has been done on data item A and B, then T4 unlock data item A and unlock B. So in both the cases, both transaction, though they are maintaining the log based protocol, but what they are doing, they are delaying the unlocking process. They are delaying the unlocking process at the very end. And if we delay the unlocking process, then what the problem that we are facing in the previous slide, that inconsistent state we are getting, so that kind of inconsistent state will not appear if we delay the unlocking process. So if you execute T3 T4 in any kind of schedule, then it will not produce an inconsistent state. But the other problem will arise. That means if we execute that transaction T3 and T4 with the help of any schedule, as they are maintaining log based protocol, and as the unlocking has been done at the very end, that means they will not produce an inconsistent state, but it will produce another new problem. Let's see in the next slide. So consider the partial schedule. Actually, this is the pitfall of log based protocol. Means what are the drawback of log based protocol? So the schedule which we have seen in the last slide are drawn over here. So partial schedule T3 T4, not all the operation has been recorded, only the partial operation has been recorded. These are the part of T3, then T4, then again T3, and rest of the part is not required, that is why it is not mentioned over here. Now if you look at the schedule, then very interesting point here is that here T3 and T4 both are maintaining the log based protocol, and both are performing the unlocking at the delayed concept. Means unlocking has been done not immediately, rather they are delayed. But what I have said, still they have some kind of problem. And the problem is, if you look at here, B, suppose B is data item, A is a data item. Now T3 is logged on data item B in exclusive mode lock, so that means B is logged by T3 in exclusive mode lock. So that means that no other transaction can access B, because T3 hold a lock in exclusive mode on B, means T3 can perform both read and write operation. And if a particular transaction hold a lock in exclusive mode lock, then no other transaction can access the same data item. Then read B means T3 perform the read B operation, then perform the updation, then it write it back to the hard disk. To that point it's okay. Now then what happened CPU will go back to the release the T3. Let me mark it. So CPU, what it will do, release the, so it start T3. Now once all the statements are executed, T3 release, CPU will release the T3, and CPU go back to the transaction T4. Next, that means CPU will executing currently transaction T4. Now T4, the first statement is lock SA. That means T4 make a lock request to the concurrency control component, and T4 wants to lock the data item A in shared mode lock, and there is no other transaction is holding a lock on data item A, that is a lock is granted. That means T4 hold a lock on data item A in shared mode. Shared mode means anybody can access. T4 is accessing A, that at the same time if some other transaction want to access A in shared mode lock, then only other transaction is allowed to access. So it performs read A, that is also fine, no problem. Now problem arises here. Lock SB. That means T4 transaction T4 wants to lock the data item B. T4 wants to lock the data item B in shared mode lock, but concurrency control component will check whether B has any incompatible mode lock is there or not. Yes, concurrency control component has found that the data item B is already been logged by T3 and the mode of lock is X, which is incompatible mode. Means if a data item is locked by a particular transaction in exclusive mode lock, then no other transaction can access them, irrespective of shared mode or exclusive mode lock. That means T4 cannot hold a lock. So T4 cannot hold a lock on data item B. So that means what happened? CPU will not able to execute that statement. So what happened? CPU will, as CPU is not able to execute that statement, CPU will release the transaction T4 and CPU will go back to transaction T3. So CPU came back to transaction T3. Now next statement of T3 is that lock XA. That means T3 wants to make, suppose this is T3, T3 make a lock request on data item A in exclusive mode lock. So again, concurrency control component has to check whether lock is granted or not. Now concurrency control component check that the data item A is already been locked by other transaction T4 in shared mode lock, and T3 is making a lock request on the same data item A and making a lock request in exclusive mode lock. So again it is an incompatible mode lock. So that is why concurrency control component will not grant the lock request. But if instead of lock X, if it is lock SA, then T4 a data item A has been locked by T4 in shared mode and T3 making the lock request on same data item A in shared mode. Now shared mode is compatible, but as it is T3 is making a lock request in exclusive mode lock, so it is incompatible. So grant lock request will not be granted. So what happened? CPU will not able to execute the statement of T3. So at that point of time, what we can see that neither of the schedule, neither T4 neither T3 make any progress. So T4 cannot make progress, T3 cannot make progress, so no transaction is able to make their progress. That kind of situation is known as deadlock. So deadlock is a situation where no transaction can make their progress, can execute their statement. No one can proceed their normal operation. And that kind of situation is known as deadlock. So this is one of the major drawback of lock-based protocol. And how to handle to handle the deadlock, one thing what we can do is that we have to roll back either T3 or T4. So if any one of the transaction has been rolled back, then deadlock will be breaked. And the potential, next thing is the potential for deadlock exists in most locking protocol. That means whatever the locking protocol we have almost all the blocking protocol has the problem of deadlock. So deadlock basically are necessary evil. So even if the protocol is very well designed, then also deadlock is a natural thing to happen. Now the second drawback of the log-based protocol is the starvation, and starvation is also possible if concurrency control manager is badly designed. For example, a transaction may be waiting for an X mode lock on an item while a sequence of other transaction requests and are granted an S lock on the same item. What does it mean? Let me explain it. Suppose transaction T1, let me mark it. Suppose transaction T1 holding a lock on data item A in shared mode. T1 holding a lock on data item A in shared mode lock, and T1 is executing, and suppose few minutes later another transaction, say T2, want to lock the data item A in exclusive mode lock. Exclusive mode lock means, let me mark it, X. So again I am repeating, T1 is already been locked data item A in shared mode lock. Now T2 is requesting, REQ means requesting, T2 requesting exclusive mode lock on the same data item A. So what happened? Definitely concurrency control component CC, in short CC, will not grant the lock request of T2 because it is incompatible mode. So the lock request made by T2 will not be accepted. But suppose few minutes later, what happened? Just before releasing, but so that means T2 have to wait for T1. T2 have to wait for T1. So when T1 will release, then T2 can access the data item A. But before T1 release, just before releasing the T1, suppose another transaction T3 came and make a lock request on data item A in shared mode lock, and as shared mode lock and shared mode lock are comparable, so concurrency control component grant the request of T3. So what happened? The lock request has been granted for transaction T3. So the problem is that even if T1 has completed his job, then also T2 will not able to acquire the A. Why? Because in the meantime T3 has been came. Now similarly, so T1 has been completed, so marked it as a cross. Now before T3 release the lock, or T3 before the just T3 completes his job, just before completion of T3, another transaction T4 came and make a lock request in shared mode lock. So T3 already logged in shared mode, T4 requesting in shared mode, both are shared mode, that is lock request has been granted. And in the meantime T3 has completed his job. Though T3 has completed his job, but still T2 has not been assigned a lock on A. Why? Because T4 already acquired the lock on data item A. So that means T2, which is want to acquire a lock in exclusive mode lock, will never getting a chance to acquire the lock on the data item A. So that means the transaction T2 is become starved. So that kind of situation is known as starvation. So deadlock and starvation, these are the two drawbacks which generally occur in the log-based protocol. Next is two-phase locking protocol. Actually, two-phase locking protocol is the modification of the normal log-based protocol. It's more sophisticated version of log-based protocol. So same objective, two-phase locking protocol is the protocol by which concurrency control component ensure conflict serializability. Now the two-phase locking protocol lock request on a particular data item has been requested in two phase. That means two phases are there, phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is termed as growing phase, means in that phase transaction only obtain a new lock. Transaction in that phase, in the growing phase, only transaction can acquire the locks. Now no transaction can release the lock in that phase. So growing phase means it's the initial phase where transaction can only acquire the locks, transaction cannot release the lock. And phase 2 is the shrinking phase. This is the phase where transaction only release the lock. In that phase transaction cannot obtain new lock. Now the protocol assure the serializability. It can prove that the transaction can be serializable in the order of their lock points. Now let's take an example in the next slide. So here the two transactions are there, T3 and T4, and if you look at the transaction T3 and T4, both the transaction are observing the two-phase logging protocol. Why? Because initially while T3 start executing, T3 make a lock request and be in exclusive mode lock, then perform the read B operation, then perform the updation, then perform the write operation. Now then again it make a lock request on data item A. So what we can say that this part are phase 1 or the growing phase, means in that phase transaction T3 only making a lock request, only obtaining the new locks, then perform the read operation, then modification have been done, then return have been done, then T3 performs unlock B and unlock A. That means unlocking has been started from here. So that phase is known as the shrinking phase or the phase 2. So this is the growing phase and this is the shrinking phase. And similarly, if you look at the transaction T4, make a lock request and acquire the lock, perform read A, then make another lock request and acquire the lock, then read B, display plus B. So this up to this phase is known as growing phase or the phase 1, and then unlocking has been started, unlock A and unlock B, this is shrinking phase. Now the point here is that once unlocking has been done, suppose here unlock A, if at that point of time here, if suppose T4 want to make any new lock request, then T4 does not allow to acquire no more new lock. So one unlock has been started, no new lock can be acquired. And again important point is that two-phase locking protocol, though it is a modified version of lock-based protocol, but still two-phase locking protocol does not ensure freedom from deadlock, means it also has the disadvantage is that it also observes the deadlock situation may arise. Another different drawback of two-phase locking protocol that cascading rollback is possible under two-phase locking if you consider that schedule. Though T5, T6, T7 all are in two-phase locking protocol, but still cascading rollback will be happen. If you look at carefully, T6 is dependent on T5 because T6 reads the data item A which is previously written by T5, and similarly T7 reads the data item which is previously written by T5. So T6 is dependent on T5 and T7 is dependent on T6. So if in T5 not able to execute successfully, means T5 needs to roll back. That is why T6 also needs to be rolled back, as T7 dependent on T6, so T7 needs to be rolled back. So cascading rollback is possible under two-phase locking protocol. So to avoid this or to avoid the cascading rollback, we need to modify the two-phase locking protocol, and the modified version of two-phase locking protocol is termed as strict two-phase locking protocol. And strict two-phase locking protocol requirement is that a transaction must hold all of its exclusive mode lock till it commits or abort. Means in strict two-phase locking protocol, it must be in two-phase, but also all the transaction that holds the exclusive mode lock, all the exclusive mode lock must be written till it commits or aborts. And another is rigorous two-phase locking protocol. This is the another modified version of two-phase locking protocol. Is the rigorous two-phase locking protocol. It is even more stricter than two-phase locking protocol. Even stricter than strict two-phase locking protocol. Here all the locks, that means whether it's a exclusive mode lock or it's a shared mode lock, all the lock are held till commit or abort. So in the strict two-phase locking protocol, only the exclusive mode lock must be held until it commits. And in rigorous two-phase locking protocol, all the locks, either it is shared mode lock or exclusive mode lock, all the lock must be held until transaction commit. And that's all for today. And these are the references you may go through for more details.